Coming up next on the Science Channel, the big questions of modern science have some surprising answers. We'll break the issues down and get the latest findings straight from the experts. Sometimes fact is stranger than fiction. Discover Magazine, next on the Science Channel.
Fear, it's a heart stopper. What does it really mean to be scared to death? And can fear be used as a murder weapon? Some people are forever haunted by traumatic events. War veterans can be scarred for life after their experience of terror in battle. It's post-traumatic stress disorder, and researchers are trying to understand what fear has done to the brain. Faces of Fear, next on Discover Magazine. Scared to death. We say it all the time. But what does it mean to be scared to death? And what can it tell us about the mysterious links between our brains and our bodies? The story of James Mansell offers some clues. Late one night, the 40-year-old subway clerk was manning his booth in a quiet section of Queens, New York. Was fear the weapon used to murder James Mansell? The autopsy called it a heart attack, death from natural causes. But according to Dr. Martin Samuels, one of the nation's leading experts on sudden death, dying from fright is often something very different. It results when fear triggers a surge of adrenaline to help save your life. But once in a while, that same signal of intense fear can overwhelm your heart.
When the heart gets this impulse, what occurs is that calcium, the element calcium, actually flows into the cells of the heart, causing the heart to contract. And in fact, the heart contracts so tightly that for a moment it won't relax. This is, in the past, has been called the stone heart. It's like a Charlie horse, where a muscle contracts and you could feel that rock-hard feeling, but this is the heart muscle, failing to relax. If the heart can't relax, of course it can't beat again, it's functionally useless, and that would lead to death, of course.
Hi, Greg.
For scientists like Joseph LeDoux of New York University, the complex chain of events in the human fear system is crucial to understanding how the brain could stop the heart. How does fear work? When an animal in the wild is faced with sudden danger, first it freezes. Then it assesses the threat and responds accordingly. Humans react the same way.
Watching the videotapes of the Atlanta bombing recently during the Olympics, I was struck by how similar the human fear reaction is in a sudden situation of danger as the animal, to the animal reaction. So what happens is in the videotape, for example, the bomb goes off, everyone starts startling, there's a jump reaction.
Like most other animals, humans' first reaction to danger is to startle and freeze.
Then immobility sets in. People start standing still, maybe moving around a little bit here. Some people are actually crouched down and held steady. But then as time goes on, they begin to move, and one person starts running away, and everybody basically takes off. So their cortex is kicked in either on the basis of their own decision to move or on the basis of having watched everyone else take off, and then all of a sudden everyone is running.
But what exactly goes on inside your brain and your body when you're afraid? Think about what happens, say late at night, when you return to the place you parked your car in the morning and find it's now dark and deserted. Though you have no reason to associate this specific place with fear, the thinking part of your brain is telling you it's a potentially dangerous situation. So your brain becomes aroused and sends the signals that activate your body's entire fear system. Your senses become more acute. Time seems to slow down. Your heart pounds. Your breathing becomes rapid and shallow. Blood leaves your stomach to surge into your brain and muscles, giving you that butterflies in the stomach feeling.
How can a 50-year-old grandmother look this good? Simple. She strength trains with Bowflex.
My results are very real. I lost 17 pounds in the first 5 weeks on my Bowflex.
All it takes for great results is one simple workout done 20 minutes a day, 3 days a week. Own your very own Bowflex Extreme for no money down and payments of just $19 a month. If you want real results, you need a real Bowflex. Call us for a free DVD or video or visit us online today.
Have an old 401k? How do you want to feel after you've rolled it over? That's why there's the T. Rowe Price Smart Choice Rollover IRA. All you do is tell us your retirement date, and we'll do the rest. You get a retirement fund that matches the date you choose. With investments we select and adjust over time to become more conservative as the retirement date nears. All with no loads, commissions, or sales charges. So who do you want rolling over your 401k? That one's easy. Call the T. Rowe Price Rollover Specialist today at 1-800-341-5592. They'll guide you every step of the way and can even open your IRA right over the phone. The Smart Choice Rollover IRA from T. Rowe Price. Invest with confidence. Request a complete prospectus or profile with investment objectives, risks, fees, expenses, and other information to read and consider carefully before investing.
The Science Channel is taking you on the ultimate joyride. Burn rubber with the hottest cars in the world.
What I call a man's car.
Zoom into power and performance with Ultimate Cars. Wednesday at 8 on the Science Channel.
A straight beats a flush, right?
The bill's coming.
Oh, good. Really good. I'm almost done.
Good.
What?
Get the power to multitask. Right now, get this Dimension desktop with the power and performance of an Intel Pentium 4 processor with HT technology. It's yours for the amazing price of $720 after instant savings. Plus, get a free hard drive upgrade and free 2-day shipping. Other Dell desktops start at just $495. But you better call or go online soon. These offers end November 3rd. Get more out of multimedia with Dell. And get more out of Mac. Dell PCs use Intel Pentium 4 processors with HT technology.
what part of our brain actually governs the fear response? And how can it go fatally wrong? After many years, Joe LeDoux has helped pinpoint the brain region that controls fear.
Brain is really just like a hot dog bun. Here on the outside you have the new part, the neocortex. On the inside you have older areas of cortex. As you go right down on the inside in the middle, underneath what's called the temporal lobe out here is the amygdala. The amygdala is the part of the brain that's very important in our emotional reactions, especially fear. And it gets all the sensory inputs, and when it detects danger in those inputs, bam, out come the emotional reactions.
The nut-sized chunk called the amygdala is among the oldest parts of our brain. A relic of our distant evolutionary past that exists in reptile brains as well as our own. The amygdala's ancient origins help explain why we react to danger the same way as many animals. Fear is one of evolution's most basic tools for survival. But how can scientists really know that the amygdala is the brain's fear center? Recently, they were able to capture it in action for the first time. This student is watching grisly documentary footage designed to arouse the same part of his brain that fear would activate. While he watches the film, an IV line is injecting a radioactive trace chemical into his body. The parts of his brain that are most aroused will soak up the most chemical. Then, the subject's brain is viewed with a PET scan machine that will highlight his active brain areas.
Okay, this is a view of the brain.
For Professor Larry Cahill and Dr. Richard Heyer, this experiment confirms the critical role of the amygdala in processing fear.
Part of the frontal lobe here, and what we can see right here is a very clear view of the activation in the amygdala in this person who is watching the emotional tape. And you can see compared to the surrounding tissue how active this is.
Once scientists identify the amygdala as fear central, they could trace the pathways that take fear signals through the brain and into the body. That's where Joe LeDoux made a startling discovery. Our brains actually have two different pathways for processing fear. The first pathway sends a signal from our senses directly to the amygdala, triggering our automatic responses. Milliseconds later, a second pathway sends a separate signal to our cortex, the thinking part of our brain, which assesses what to do in the face of the threat.
So we think of this as the low road and the high road. The low road allows us to have these very quick and dirty responses to stimuli. I say quick and dirty because it's a fast pathway, it's a direct pathway out of the sensory system into the emotion system, but it's dirty because it doesn't allow us to know exactly what it is we're responding to.
This so-called quick and dirty pathway is evolution's way of buying us a few precious moments in the face of danger. But once in a great while, this effective survival system spins tragically out of control when the brain's message of fear is more than the heart can stand. The gang that scared James Menzel to death was eventually arrested and indicted on murder charges. Though it's rarely labeled homicide, Dr. Martin Samuels believes dying from fear happens far more often than we think.
This can happen to anybody at any age, and there's evidence that people of all ages are subject to the phenomenon of frightened to death. Possibly it may be related to the degree of the stimulus. How frightening really is it? So it all depends on your own neuroanatomy, your own psychological state as to whether you would consider it frightening, and how frightening would you consider it, and would, under those circumstances, your heart really stop or beat erratically. That, I think, is very hard to predict.
It began with the original wave radio. Popular science called it a sonic marvel, and the San Francisco Chronicle said it must be heard to be believed. Now, we've engineered it to a whole new standard. Introducing the new Bose Wave Music System. The new Wave music system reproduces 1/2 octave lower musical notes. It delivers even greater instrument clarity and definition. And it plays MP3 CDs as well as conventional CDs. There are no buttons. Just use the convenient credit card style remote control. Its elegance is further enhanced by the new slot-loaded CD player. Call now to order what may well become the primary music system in your home. Be sure to ask about financing options. Our excitement guarantee gives you a 30-day risk-free trial, and shipping is free. So call today to experience the new Bose Wave music system.
It's not every day you get to hang out with an NFL MVP. Unless, of course, you enter and win the NFL Sunday Ticket Hang with Peyton sweepstakes. Because you and Peyton would practically be on a first-name basis.
So, Mike.
It's Bob.
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 Practically. Visit sweeps.directtv.com for details.
When I put on pads, I can't catch a thing.
I kind of figured that.
What the hell was that? Lori, please! Someone get some help!
You're so dead you don't even know it. Well, well, well. Looky here.
Oh my God, Morgan!
You can't cheat death. There are no escapes.
Do you believe in ghosts?
Tune in to Channel 520, October 30th and 31st. Stars is just one of 12 distinct channels in the Stars Super PAC from DirecTV.
Hi, I'm Jill Deacon. Here are the stories we're working on for the next Discoveries this week.
The Cassini mission makes the closest flyby ever to the moon Titan, revealing some striking similarities to Earth. Plus, how one crime scene investigator teaches her students the art of blood splatter.
It is something that tells them where the next piece of evidence probably is.
All this and more on the next Discoveries this week. Next Friday at 8, only on the Science Channel.
For thousands of soldiers, the Vietnam War left deep scars. Dave Moorhead is among them. He was almost killed during the bloodiest days of the Tet Offensive.
Right here, and over in this corner too, are 2 of the 8 bullets that went through me. I thought it was something interesting, but you could see it right here is one of them. And over here is the other one. This one shows up a little bit better.
But for Moorhead and an estimated 15% of Vietnam veterans, the scars aren't just on his body. His brain is scarred as well. The terror of battle left memories that even 30 years can't erase.
I never get a chance to forget it. And so therefore, I live in the fear of what happened to me, and I don't want to be reminded of it any longer.
For more than 10 years, Moorhead has been working with Dr. Roger Pitman, one of the nation's leading researchers in post-traumatic stress disorder, trying to understand what fear has done to his brain and why 4th of July celebrations sent him diving for cover.
Somebody will throw a string of the little 1-inchers, and it sounds like automatic weapon fire, and you just totally blank everything out and you seek whatever cover you can find.
By definition, post-traumatic stress disorder, which we also call PTSD for short, is a mental disorder which results from an extremely traumatic event, typically something like combat, rape, assault, earthquake, hurricane.
Pitman and his colleagues hope that working with Dave Moorhead may help explain why some people are forever haunted by traumatic events, while others can move on.
Let your right arm be calm, warm. Relax the muscles of your left forearm.
An audio tape recounts one of Dave's most terrifying moments in combat.
You see your chopper and crew in flames. You grit your teeth and continue to view the death and destruction in front of you.
The monitors attached to Dave's body reveal how powerfully he reacts to these old reminders.
Recalling his experience.
But their work with Dave Moorhead has done more than just further their research. Though he's still distressed, Moorhead's sessions have helped him confront his fears and begin to conquer them.
David is basically a calmer, more rational, better adjusted person. He has not lost his symptoms. He still has all the symptoms that he had pretty much when he came to see us about 10 years ago.
When the researchers first met Dave a decade ago, his fearful memories were even closer to the surface. Here, he's watching the Vietnam War movie Platoon as part of the lab's research. This test was designed to tap into Dave's battlefield memories. But it sparked a reaction beyond anything the researchers expected.
When he saw the movie Platoon, he had what we call flashback. It hasn't happened that often in our laboratory. It was certainly a dramatic example of one of the symptoms of PTSD.
Dave Moorhead's story is giving scientists new insights into a baffling disorder and providing clues about how to cope.
In post-traumatic stress disorder, a person will never forget about the traumatic event. It's just a fact of their past that they're always going to have in there. But the measure of health in post-traumatic stress disorder is the ability to live in the present rather than to live in the past.
Hello.
Yo.
Where are you?
I'm in London. Where are you?
We're in Paris. Thought you were in Tokyo.
Thought you were in Boston.
Change of plans. What's up?
Change of plans. We need to reroute the shipment.
New terms?
New terms, new specs, new schedules.
Show me.
There you go.
Change of plans. Okay, will do. See you in New York.
Change of plans. See you in L.A.
Au revoir.
Sayonara.
So what's up? The usual.
When change is part of the plan, that's on-demand business from IBM.
When is a diet pill worth $153 a bottle? When you're more than 20 pounds overweight and every diet plan has failed. Now there's Leptoprin.
Specifically developed for the significantly overweight, backed by a United States patent, a double-blind published clinical trial, and an ironclad 100% 30-day money-back guarantee. Leptoprin is simply the most powerful, clinically proven weight control compound available, period.
If you're one of those people who constantly worry about 5 or 6 vanity pounds, Leptoprin is not for you. Leptoprin is much too expensive and much too powerful for the casual dieter. But if you're one of the millions of Americans who are 20, 30, 50 pounds or more overweight, you need Leptoprin.
So when is a diet pill worth $153 a bottle? When it works, really works.
Isn't it time you tried Leptoprin? Call 1-800-490-6763, 1-800-490-6763.
The Science Channel is taking you on the ultimate joyride. Burn rubber with the hottest cars in the world.
What I call a man's car.
Zoom into power and performance with Ultimate Cars. Wednesday at 8 on the Science Channel. Coming up next, politicians would love to get inside your head. And now scientists have found a way to do just that. And what do Mars and Utah have in common? Blueberries. On Discoveries This Week. Coming up next only on the Science Channel.
Another group of researchers is trying to pinpoint the part of the brain in which PTSD originates. They hope to design a drug to treat the illness. Vietnam veteran Tim Geddes has volunteered for an experiment that will test his sensitivity to being startled. Yale University researchers suspect Tim's highly fearful experiences in Vietnam may have left his brain in an aroused state of fear, as if his fear system is stuck in the on position.
I get sweaty. The blinds have to be closed. I'm always on guard. I have to double check all the doors. I'm very hyper. I don't sleep well. Something's going to happen. That impending doom thing. It takes a toll over long periods of time.
To test their theory that Tim Geddes is in a constant aroused state of fear, the researchers will measure his startle response, his first instinctive reaction to fear.
What we do is we have two lights. There's a green light and a yellow light. The green light is going to be the light during which you are able to get a shock on your wrist. That's the only light. When that light's on, that's the only time during the test that you might get a shock on your wrist.
Okay.
They've told him that when the green light shines, he may get a slightly painful electrical shock. When the yellow light is shining, he won't get any shock at all. But the researchers are going to play a trick on Tim. What they don't tell him is that he's going to receive sudden, unpleasant bursts of static through his earphones. He won't actually receive any shocks at all, just bursts of static that sound like shocks. The researchers discover that Tim's startle response to the bursts of sound is far higher than in people who don't have post-traumatic stress disorder.
I thought that was really interesting.
For Dr. Michael Davis of Yale University, this elevated startle response helps identify the part of the brain that fear has altered.
When the safety light was on and when the threat light was on. And he indicated
Well, one of the ideas in post-traumatic stress syndrome is that following trauma, there may be sensitization of this part of the brain called the amygdala that we know is involved in fear.
Davis and his colleagues have discovered that victims of PTSD, like Tim Geddes, are unable to recognize what the scientists call safety signals, the sense of relief that comes when your brain realizes there's nothing to be scared of after all.
It's kind of like if you watch a little girl in the zoo. They're walking along and they're happy and skipping, and they go around a corner and suddenly they see a lion. And what's the first thing they do? They come back and grab their mom's hand. So that a safety signal is sort of like grabbing your mother's hand.
For Tim, the yellow light should have been a safety signal because he was told not to expect an electric shock when it was shining. But Tim startled equally to both lights, an indication that his brain has lost its ability to overcome fear.
And so the question is what parts of the brain are activated when that little girl holds her mom's hand? And are these not working properly in people with post-traumatic stress syndrome?
But what if scientists could block the brain's ability to store fearful memories? Could this lead to a cure for PTSD? Researchers James McGaugh and Larry Cahill are trying to figure out how fearful experiences become so indelibly etched into the brain.
Record something called galvanic skin response from your fingertips as you're watching the show, okay?
In a series of tests, they recounted a disturbing story illustrated with slides to two different groups of people. One group, including this student, was given a beta blocker, a common heart disease drug that blocks the action of the hormone adrenaline on the body. The other group was given a harmless placebo.
Specialized surgeons were able to successfully reattach the boy's severed feet.
After 1 week, the researchers gave a surprise quiz to the two groups on how well they remembered details of the disturbing story.
Now, what had been done to the boy's legs? Where were scars visible on his body? On his feet? On his ankles? At the knees? Or there were no scars visible?
Was it on his knees?
On his knees, okay.
The subjects who had been given the beta blocker, including this student, were unable to recall some of the most graphic details they had seen just a week earlier.
What we found was that the subjects who were the controls, who had the placebo, had very good memory for the emotional story when we tested them a week later. But the subjects who had the beta blocker did not.
Cahill's findings help explain why we remember traumatic and fearful events so well. Adrenaline, the same hormone that gives you the extra burst of energy you need to save yourself from danger, is also nature's way of engraving a fearful or traumatic experience into your brain. Researchers hope this new discovery could help them reverse the process and erase fearful memories before they take over.